What's up, y'all? This is Tasha. I am back with another video. So I'm gonna bring another show to review. I'm going to review Put a Ring on It. It comes on. This is the third season of the show. I've watched season 1 and season 2. It's a pretty decent show. So I figured, we love all things, marriage, relationship, drama with Married at First Sight. So let's just, see what Put a Ring on It got for us this season. Okay, so if y'all have never seen the show, the premise, back up. Welcome to my channel. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right. So the premise of the show is couples that are coming on the show who've been dating for a number of years at this point, and they have not gotten engaged, or they've gotten engaged before, maybe called it off, but they have not gotten married. So they're coming on the show now to date other people and to figure out at the end if they want to put a ring on it or if they want to now go their separate ways. So again, this is season 3, episode 1. Let's run through the couples real quick so we kind of see who we are dealing with. We have 3 couples each and every season. So we have Alfonso and Shay. I'll put a picture over here so that we can get used to, names and faces. So they've been dating 3 years. They say they love each other and things are good, but they need to determine if they are forever. He says she slid into his DMs and she is like, I double tapped in like one of your videos and then you slid in my DM, sir. Okay. He says she is his end all be all. He thinks she is the one he could spend the rest of his life with. But that was until she got annoying. And I'm like, child, did you think it was going to be cupcakes and rainbows forever, honey? Anyway, they were engaged before, and then he took the ring back because it seems at this point in the episode, we didn't know exactly what it was, but something was going on between the relationship with his mama and Shay. So he took the ring back. Engagement was called off. Next couple is Otis and Sharlana. They've been dating 3 years as well. They met in Miami at a film festival. He says, man, my cousin approached her first and he really wasn't trying to get at her like that. So I came up in and basically laid the game on. And of course, she chose. She chose me. I'm like, okay. He says he loves her strength, but that can sometimes transform into stubbornness. She thinks he is the man for her, but they have huge communication issues and she doesn't feel that she is being heard, and he can sometimes be very harsh and dismissive. Child, if that ain't a red flag. He says in order for him to propose, he wants her to be more understanding and softer and just let him take them where they need to go. All right, Otis. Lastly, we have Kenneth and Shorty. I really need to know what is Shorty's government name, because I think Shorty is her radio name because she's a radio personality, but I need to know what her real name is. But they keep calling her Shorty, so we're going to call her Shorty, okay? But they met at a concert and she is really teeny tiny. He says, she says that he isn't her definition of husband material and she needs him to step up his financial responsibility before stepping into a marriage. And as soon as she said that, I'm like, well, why are we here? If he is not husband material, are you waiting for him to become husband material? Girl, quit wasting your years with a man that you are already saying is not husband material and you want a husband. Sometimes we got to listen to ourselves and make it make sense, because this don't make sense. He says that she gets really angry and she says it's because they really argue about the same things over and over. Again, red flag. She is ambitious and works really hard, and she basically doesn't feel that they're on the same page. So that's our 3 couples. Dr. Nicole tells them as they're all sitting down that they really can't keep going on the same way and expecting things to change. So she's here to let them know, of course, that they'll be dating other people. We have to go into the dramatics of, I don't know how I feel about this. We'll see. Y'all know this is the premise of the show. Cut it out. You know what you were here to do. Date other people to figure out if you're going to stay with this man or woman or leave. Okay? We already know that. So Otis says he's concerned because he knows what happened when they went on a date, whatever that is. But Dr. Nicole says they really have to allow each other to date without fear to determine if they are ready to put a ring on it or go their separate ways. So she lets them know this week the women are starting with their dates, and it is starting today, honey. So they are headed home to get ready for their first dates that Dr. Nicole has picked out for them. We see Shay is getting ready for her date, and she says she is nervous as Fonzo is asking her how she feels. We then see her date Brian show up. He all right looking. I mean, she got a little Rick Ross wannabe in Fonzo, but you know, Brian shows up tall, dark, handsome, you know, a little physically fit. So, I mean, Fonzo getting a little edgy, like, man, come on, your little Brian, your little date downstairs. You know, anytime somebody put little in front of something, they kind of want to just diminish it, the quality of it, no matter how good it is, that much more. So little Brian downstairs, come on and get your date, child. He is trying to play it cool, but Fonzo looked a little bit nervous. We then see Shorty is getting ready for her date, and Kenneth's getting worried because, you know, she's like, she don't be putting all this effort into when we got a date, so what's really happening here? He's from New Orleans, y'all, so y'all know how that accent is. Once she gets ready, he's like, come on, sit close to me on the couch. You know, I'm going to miss you, right? And I'm like, these men always try to lay it on thick before their women go out on a date because they like, remember me, don't get too attached while you out here with this other man. Put in the effort before we get to this point. Okay, maybe that would be the helpful thing. So once she gets ready, we see that her date is starting to show up to the door, and it is none other than Mr. Hollywood himself. If y'all have watched this show, Hollywood was on season 1. I believe his girlfriend name was Ashley, I might be wrong, but I think that's her name. But they actually ended up getting engaged at the end of their season, but things didn't work out and they ended up breaking up and calling off the engagement and going their separate ways. But Hollywood is here, and I'm like, Lord, not Hollywood back, child. This is only the 3rd season, and you already making a reappearance on the show trying to get somebody else's girl. So both of the guys are from New Orleans, so they exchange pleasantries, and, you know, she says she's pleasantly surprised because she watched season 1, and she's like, you know, he's cute. Both of the men, you know, connect because they are from New Orleans. Her man is like, man, I'm kind of a fan, so I don't know if this is like good. He kind of excited probably that he met Hollywood, but then he like, damn, he taking my girl out. I already know a little bit about him. I don't know how this gonna work out for me, but we'll see. So we see Shay and Brian, they go to this little spin art class. Well, basically they put like art in this little wooden box, and then they have this table that needs to spin, and the art just kind of splatters all over the table to get a little, you know, piece of artwork for them. So they really are playing around, bantering back and forth with each other. It's real cute or whatever. And she says, you know, she calls him little again and says something about his little art or something. He like, y'all gonna quit playing with me and saying stuff little. I'm 6 feet up in the bed. Okay. Quit acting like I'm little. So they cracking jokes back and forth, really seem to be connecting and being comfortable with each other. We then see Hollywood and Shorty. They go to a little arts and craft class as well. So they go do pottery, you know, real ghost-like. Hollywood says he just can't get this thing to rise as they are, you know, sitting there trying to mold the pottery, got the wheel spinning. And if y'all watch season 1, y'all know how Hollywood is very sexual, and almost everything that comes out of his mouth got a little, you know, sexual innuendos going on. So, of course, when he's like, I just can't get this thing to rise, we like, child, we already know where this is going. So she tells him he needs to keep his hands wet and move it up and down. And he's like, here you go, being fresh, thinking that's Hollywood. This is right up your alley, sir. Cut it out. So she ends up asking him about, you know, what happened from his season. Because, of course, like I said, when he and his girlfriend were on the season 1, that they ended up getting engaged. So he says, you know, he had a lot of growing up to do. He realized he was being selfish. You know, just because you leave with someone or you ask them to marry you or whatever, that does not mean that they are necessarily the person for you. So they just had to go their separate ways. And again, I really don't know how I feel about Hollywood being on the show because there is history and he's somebody that obviously the Shorty knows. So it kind of, I feel like it makes the situation a little bit sticky because she watched the season. She was kind of feeling him, thought he was cute and all that stuff. So I think that really may make her like him even more very early on and maybe not go on any other dates or they end up together because she kind of already had this feeling for him rather than it being completely somebody new who she did not know at all. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, but we will see. So they show Kenneth at home. He is drinking a beer, child. He says he cannot believe that he is at home. Shorty is on a date. She been gone for a couple hours now. Like, when she coming home? he is just going through it. As Hollywood and Shorty are about to leave, he treats her with a little gift from the gift shop to remember their date. So she picks out a little necklace and she's like, Kenneth is going to be mad when I get home with this gift. And she was 1,000% accurate. So Shay and Brian get done with their activity and then they sit down to talk. He asks what's going on in their relationship and she tells him that family is one of their major issues. Brian tells her that family is really important to him. You know, he's a man of his faith and that really helps to guide him and tells him where he needs to go. They then order a cute little dessert and some drinks and end up feeding each other. And child, it looks like she was kind of feeling Brian a little bit. We then move on to Sharlana and Otis, and Sharlana is in a little workout outfit because I guess her date is going to take her, somewhere that they're going to be active. He says he will be checking her phone, and I'm like, excuse me, how insecure are we, sir, at this point? So her date Meta shows up, and Otis isn't feeling him. He's being a little possessive. If they're talking in the kitchen, he's like, I'm going to take her to go play soccer. And he's like, yeah, kicking some balls and not getting too close and pulling her into him. And I'm like, child, Otis, grow up. These men can never handle when it's time for their women to go on dates. They be going through it, honey. And I'm like, it is just a date. And again, you knew what this was going to be about. It's not a surprise when you sign up for this show of what's going to happen. So Meta has a date planned for them to go play soccer because he's a soccer coach and has played most of his life. He asks about her relationship and, she tells him that Otis is very traditional. He grew up in the South and she grew up in LA. So they are kind of different on how they view some things. Meta then shows her how to, play soccer. She's a bit of a natural because she's very, physical and active and in shape herself. Meta is from Africa, so she asks him if he is very traditional as well. And he says, I grew up traditionally, but I really don't necessarily view things that way. I view my partner as being my equal. And, we are really there to build and help each other, not necessarily him being kind of a dictator in the relationship. So Meta then gives her some flowers and it looked like he was carrying like a picnic basket. So when she got home and said they didn't eat, I was totally confused as to, well, what was the picnic basket and blanket of it all? I don't know. So Shorty gets back from her date and Kenneth asks, what they did. And she tells him they went to little pottery class. And he's like, he ain't tried no little Patrick Swayze stuff, didn't he? I was like, Lord, why all black people go to ghosts when we see anybody in a pottery class? I'm guilty of it too, y'all. But she says that Hollywood, showed out a bit and she ends up showing him the necklace and he throws it and then he ends up going to pick it up and he says, it doesn't make him feel good that she acts like she is all happy getting gifts from another man. It is a necklace. You would think this man gave her a diamond ring. It is a necklace. Oh gosh, he is just really bothered by this whole situation. And it really reminds me of Hollywood. Like, we are looking at Hollywood 2.0. She asks him if he wants her to be happy with or without him, like being very serious, asking this question. And he says, why even ask that? We gonna be together. That tells you everything you need to know. He basically, no, he wants you to be happy with him. Well, I ain't gonna even say be happy. He wants you to be with him, whether you happy or not. Sums up the story to me. Sharlana comes back from her day and Otis is cooking. He's jealous of the flowers that Meta gave her. And I'm like, grow up. So he basically starts to be very disrespectful as he's asking her about, what happened on their date. She tells him that they did hug and he's like, well, that's a violation. And why didn't you ask him to keep the flowers? The man gave her the flowers. What she look like telling him to keep the flowers? They are flowers. That is the gentleman thing to do, to show up on a date and bring your date flowers. Get over it. Oh my goodness. Then as he starts to ask more questions, he continues to get more pissed with everything she starts to say. So now as he's continuing to cook, he says, well, now this is turning into dinner for one. And she's like, well, I didn't eat. So you're just not going to give me, you're just not going to give me no food now? Being extremely childish. But I think he is reading 1,000 into these flowers. Like, you would have thought this girl slept with this man at this point, the way he is acting about her receiving these flowers. And then he asks her to go take a shower because he feel like she's a little nasty right now. And I think just with him continuing to dig, it just really started to get under her skin, because at first she was playing it a little bit cool. And then just the more he kept going and egging it on, she's just like, all right, now at this point, you are just being disrespectful. You are really taking it way too far over some flowers. And he just keeps going in as if she did something really wrong in this situation. So she ends up getting herself something else to eat. They sit at the table and basically eat in silence as she wipes tears from her eyes. And he looks like he is proud of the behavior he has just displayed. Yeah, so the couples come back together at the end of the episode with Dr. Nicole to recap how the dates went. So Shay goes first, and that's all we get to at the end of this episode, child. But Shay tells the group that her date was nice. They really connected on family, and it triggered her because she does not have a connection with Alfonso's family. That Dr. Nicole asks how many times she's met his family, and she's like, I really don't have a connection with his family, and I met his mom one time. They've been together almost 3.5 years. She's met this man's mother one time. They've been together 3.5 years and she's met this man's mother one time. And then she tells us that one time was on accident, that they, I guess, went to his mom's house. He was dropping off his nephew, his son, somebody. He was in the house, 15, 20 minutes. So she came in, and then the mom was like, oh, I wasn't expecting you. And that's basically the one and only interaction she's had. He didn't even introduce her to his mom or anything like that. She had to do the introduction of herself. And I'm just like, so is that not clear enough that this man really don't want to be with you, or he hiding something? Like, I'm not understanding. So Dr. Nicole asks about if there's other relationships that may be, hindering this whole thing. And he says, yeah. So basically he has a son, and his mom is essentially sounds like best friends with the mother of his child. So I guess his mom sees it as a little bit of a betrayal, I guess, if she starts to form a relationship with the woman that he is now with. And I'm like, what in the foolery is going on? Your mama can have a relationship with your child's mother, with her grandchild's mom, because I think that's healthy to do so that you continue to be in the life of your grandchild. But that does not mean you completely ostracize the person that is now in your son's life. And that doesn't mean you, as her son, allows her to do that to this woman that you want to be in your life. What in the disrespect is going on here? And then Shay proceeds to tell us that Fonzo told her that he was going out of town for work. And then on social media, she sees that he is actually on vacation with his family, and everybody is there except for her because she wasn't invited. This is only the first episode, and this is already like at least the 5th red flag from Alfonso, but she is still here trying to figure out if they need to put a ring or go their separate ways. Girl, if you don't leave this mini Rick Ross right there by himself with his baby mama and his mother and this throuple that they want to be in, leave him alone, because that would have told me everything I need to know. But she's just, explaining her frustrations. He acts like he doesn't understand. He even starts to laugh. She gets up and she walks off because she says she needs a minute, and we can hear her sniffling and crying in the bathroom, and the episode goes off. Why are we here? Why are we here? Probably with all these couples, but for now, since this is all we know from the first episode, why are we here with these two? If family is such a huge issue for you, and it sounds like it's a bit of a deal breaker, why are you continue to waste your years with this man that seemingly does not want to incorporate you into his family? Oh, yeah, we will see what is in store for us this season for Put a Ring on It. Let me know you guys' thoughts below. Have you watched the other seasons of this show? Do you like this show? I have personal feelings on some of the other couples of the past season, but that's neither here nor there. We will focus on this season and see how things go. So let's chat it up in the comments, and I will catch y'all next week. Peace.